Welcome back to the Deep Dive. It is Tuesday, February 17th, 2026.
Hope your week is off to a good start.
It is. But for the next hour or so, I want you to just mentally check out of the present day with us. We're going to do a little bit of time travel. I want you to just close your eyes, let the calendar drift backward. We are heading back to Monday, March 1st, 1965.
A very specific Monday evening.
9:00 p.m. to be exact. And I really want to set the vibe here because today's deep dive is, well, it's atmospheric.
It's very atmospheric.
It's a little smoky. It's very quiet. We're sitting in a living room in Elmira, New York. Jane Roberts is there pacing the floor. She's smoking a cigarette. Her voice is dropping into that, that deeper register.
And through her, we're getting a transmission from elsewhere.
Exactly. We are looking at session 136 of the Seth material.
And specifically, this is from the early sessions, book 3.
And usually, when people hear channeled material or like esoteric philosophy, they kind of buckle up for vague predictions or some grand moralizing about how to be a good person. But what we have in front of us today is surprisingly technical.
It's almost like reading an engineering manual for reality.
But written by a poet. It's this strange mix.
It is a fascinating mix. I mean, you have a session that starts with very, very mundane career counseling.
Right.
And it ends with a physics lesson that completely dismantles how we think human communication even works.
So we're calling this deep dive the Cosmic Juggling Act.
That's the hook. That's the core image.
So our mission today, we are going to unpack why Seth thinks telepathy, or even just, regular conversation between two people, is basically a metaphysical impossibility.
At least in the way we usually imagine it.
Right. We're going to look at why you can never, ever fax a thought to someone else. And we're going to end with a bit of a thriller moment.
Oh, yeah.
A knock at the door that literally shocked the medium.
It's a perfect example of how this high strangeness just blends with the very physical, grounded reality of the people involved. It's not all just floating in the ether.
Sometimes reality comes banging on the door.
Literally.
Okay, let's unpack this. But before we get to the secrets of the universe and the electrical nature of reality and all that mind-bending stuff, Seth starts this session with something that, honestly, it made me laugh out loud. He's essentially acting as a career counselor for Rob, Jane's husband.
It's so grounding, isn't it? You expect the secrets of the cosmos. But first, let's talk about your marketing strategy.
And time management.
Exactly. So, context for you listening. Rob is an artist. He's a commercial artist. He's a painter. And like a lot of creatives, he's apparently stressing about selling his work.
Hustle.
He's worrying about galleries, about income, all of it. And Seth, this non-physical entity, looked at him and says, essentially, you're doing it wrong.
And the advice is incredibly specific, though. It's not just some vague, believe in yourself kind of thing.
No, not at all.
Seth suggests that Rob set aside exactly 1 day a week, just one, for the marketing of his manuscripts and artwork.
And here's the kicker for the rest of the week.
Forget about it.
Right. The quote is, during the rest of the week, he should, if possible, forget about the marketing aspect.
It's the ultimate touchgrass advice from way back in 1965. But why so specific about this? Is it just about, being organized?
No, it's so much deeper than just a calendar hack. It's about the nature of focus, of energy.
Okay.
Seth is teaching what we might call, radical compartmentalization. His whole philosophy is that consciousness creates reality.
Right.
So if you are a creator, or really anyone with a stressful project, the worry about the outcome can actually paralyze the work itself.
So if I'm painting on a Tuesday, but in the back of my mind I'm just churning with anxiety about whether a gallery will buy it, I'm not really painting.
You're splitting your energy. That's the thing. You're painting, sure, but you're also projecting worry and lack into the work.
You're diluting the signal.
You're absolutely diluting the signal. It's like trying to drive with the parking brake on.
That makes so much sense.
By assigning all that worry to a specific day, say Mondays are for marketing, you give yourself permission to be fully present in the creative act for the other 6 days.
It just shows that Seth, despite being this disembodied consciousness, really gets the human condition.
Oh, absolutely. We get bogged down. We pollute our creative time with administrative anxiety.
It's Seth basically saying, look, I'm going to explain the electrical nature of the entire universe to you, but first, Rob, fix your calendar. You can't understand the cosmos if you're stressed about invoices.
Priorities. You got to clear the channel first.
Okay, so once Rob has his marketing schedule sorted out Mondays only, Seth shifts gears. And when I say shifts gears, he goes from 0 to 100.
He really
He
does.
starts talking about the nature of reality itself. And he uses this phrase, a cosmic juggling act.
It's a beautiful image, but
Right.
it's complex.
So what does that actually mean? Because when I think of juggling, I think of clowns at a circus. I don't think of, like, quantum physics.
Well, let's look at the text here. Seth says, the components of the electrical universe are drawn from all energy in a manner that could be described as a cosmic juggling act.
Okay.
And here's the crucial part. For this energy is never still.
Never still.
Yeah.
That seems to be the linchpin of this whole idea.
It is. He goes on to say, no electrical impulse is stable from one instant of reality to the next.
Whoa, wait, hold on. No electrical impulse is stable, so
Yeah.
nothing is stable.
Yeah.
Not even a rock. Not even a thought that I'm holding in my head right now.
Nothing is static. That is the key. We tend to think of reality like a photograph. You take a snapshot and that's it. That's reality. It's fixed. It's a noun.
Right.
But Seth is saying reality is a movie where every single frame is different from the one before it. It's all verbs. It's all action.
So if I have a thought, or if there's an electron spinning somewhere, a millisecond later, it's not the same thing.
It is not identical. He's very, very firm on this. He says it is never the same or identical impulse. It might have the same approximate electrical mass, as he puts it, but the intensity changes. It has moved. It has shifted.
And this leads to a really philosophical point he makes about identity itself. He says, change alone allows for the possibility of identity.
That is one of those sentences you just have to sit with for a minute. You have to chew on it.
Yeah, let's unpack that, because usually we think identity means staying the same. You know, I am me because I'm the same person I was yesterday. If I changed completely, I wouldn't be me. But Seth is saying the opposite.
He's saying that without change, there is no experience. If a universe were perfectly static, just frozen in time, nothing could happen. There would be no value fulfillment, as he calls it.
Value fulfillment. That's a term that pops up a lot in the Seth material.
Yeah.
What does it mean in this context?
It's basically the inherent drive of consciousness to explore its own potential, to become more. And you can't become more if you are frozen. You wouldn't even exist, because existence implies duration, and duration implies change. If the electrical impulse stopped moving, the universe would just switch off.
So the juggling act is this constant motion. The balls are always in the air. They're always moving, always changing their arc. If they stopped.
The act is over. Gravity wins.
Oh.
Exactly. Identity isn't a fixed object. It's a trajectory. It's the pattern of the change.
And this whole idea sets the stage for the real meat of this session.
Yeah.
Because if nothing can ever be truly identical from one moment to the next, if everything is constantly morphing, what on earth does that mean for communication?
This is where it gets really, really interesting and potentially a little disturbing for anyone who thinks they're being perfectly understood.
Because we all think we know how communication works.
Right.
Especially
Okay.
something like telepathy. I mean, even if you don't believe in it, we have this cultural idea of it. We have all seen the movies.
The sci-fi trope. Yeah.
Right. Professor X touches his temple. He takes a thought from his brain. Let's call it a JPEG file of a cat. And he just shoots it over to Jean Grey. She opens up her mental inbox and boom, there it is. The exact same JPEG of the cat. Pixel for pixel.
The fax machine model of telepathy.
Hey.
Or the file transfer protocol model.
Exactly. And Seth is basically looking at that entire model and just saying, absolute nonsense.
He is dismantling the idea of duplication entirely. He says, and I'm quoting, identical realities, therefore, do not exist.
So if I send a telepathic thought to you,
Mm.
let's say I'm projecting the color blue, you aren't actually receiving blue.
Not my blue, and definitely not the specific electrical impulse of blue that you generated in your mind.
Okay, walk us through the mechanics here. Seth breaks it down into a sender, person A, and a receiver, person B. So what happens when A sends a thought?
Okay, let's get into the weeds. Person A projects a thought. Now, the first misconception Seth clears up is that person A gives away the thought. He says, the thought originally held by A is still retained by A.
So it's not like passing a baton in a race. I don't lose the thought when I tell it to you. It's copy-paste, not cut-paste.
In a sense, yeah, I has lost nothing. But I sends out an electrical impulse pattern that is supposed to duplicate the original thought. However, and this is the big however,
And it comes.
Seth says, no such identical duplication is possible within reality of any kind.
Of any kind. That's a bold statement. He's not leaving any loopholes there.
It is universal. He even throws in this little side note that identical twins, for example, are hardly identical.
I loved that. That little bit of shade thrown at genetics.
It just reinforces his point. Similarity, absolutely. Identity, no. Because the act of transmission itself forces the impulse to change.
But why? Why can't it just stay the same?
Yeah.
I mean, if I send a signal through a perfect vacuum, shouldn't it remain pure?
Because there is no vacuum in the electrical universe Seth is describing. It's a dense web of energy. Seth says the attempt to duplicate strains and pulls.
Strains and pulls?
The impulses change minutely just by the effort of trying to move them from point A to point B. He says action forces change.
Action forces change. That's a tweetable quote right there.
It's kind of like the Heisenberg uncertainty principle applied to conversation. By the act of measuring it or sending it, you change it.
Okay, so the signal leaves me, and it's already warping slightly just because it's moving. It's like that game of telephone or Chinese whiskers.
Exactly.
By the time it even leaves my lips or my brain, it's already shifting.
And that is just the sending part. Now we have to talk about the receiver, person B. This is where the distortion really kicks in.
The poor receiver. They're trying to catch this juggling ball that's already changing shape and color in midair.
And they are catching it with their own unique set of mitts. Seth talks about frequency ranges and intensities.
This part was fascinating. He suggests that every person has a sort of habitual range of frequencies they're comfortable with.
Right. Think of it like a radio tuner. You might be habitually tuned to, let's say, the FM 90 to 100 range. That is where you interpret reality. That's your comfort zone. That's your normal.
And I might be tuned to, I don't know, AM 500 to 600.
Precisely. So when my thought reaches you, you don't just download it. You interpret it. Seth says the receiver uses the signal as a pattern or a blueprint to construct a new electrical reality.
Wait, so I'm building the thought from scratch. I'm not just, like, viewing your file.
You are building it. You receive the signal and you use your own energy, your own associations, and your own frequency habits to build a thought that resembles mine.
Wow.
But it is constructed by you inside your system.
That explains so much. I mean, that explains why you can tell someone something as clearly as you can, and they look at you and go, so what you mean is, and then they say something completely different.
It is the root of all misunderstanding, but it's also the root of all creativity. Seth says, when B receives the thought, it is already a new thought.
It's a creative act. Listening isn't passive at all. It's active construction.
Seth puts it this way. He does not interpret the thought. He interprets its meaning and forms a new thought identity.
That's deep. We aren't swapping files. We're looking at each other's blueprints and trying to build the same house on our own separate plots of land, using totally different materials.
And just hoping they look somewhat similar in the end.
Yeah. So if identical telepathy is impossible, why does it work at all? I mean, Seth admits that telepathy happens. He says scientific proof is even possible. But if we're all just building our own little houses, how do we ever match up?
Right. He says that if enough of the transmitted thought falls within the receiver's accustomed range,
Their radio station.
the radio station, yeah, then they pick up on the similarities. That's when you get a hit. That's when we agree on something.
But he also says you might pick up on the differences.
Yes, and this is the really tricky part. If your frequency range is different from mine, you might latch onto the parts of my thought that are dissimilar to the main point.
So you pick up on the static.
You might pick up on the static or the background noise or some secondary association I had that you happen to resonate with.
So I might send you the thought, I love you, and you might receive, I'm hungry, if that's somehow where our frequencies overlap.
Or a better example. Let's say I send I love you, but I have a subconscious fear of rejection attached to it.
Okay?
If your receiver is tuned to the frequency of fear, you might interpret my love signal as anxiety. You literally build an anxiety thought in your head, even though I thought I was sending love.
And I'm sitting there believing I've received your message. I'm thinking, oh, he's scared?
Yeah.
And you're sitting there thinking, I just told him I loved him. And we are both wrong.
And we are both right from our own unique perspectives.
Now, speaking of love and fear, Seth does offer a kind of cheat code here. Because if everything is distorted, communication feels a bit hopeless. But he says there is one type of thought that has a much, much better chance of getting through clearly.
Emotion.
Emotional high voltage. I love that phrase.
Seth says thoughts formed under strong emotional impetus have strong electrical mass.
Electrical mass sounds heavy. It
Yeah.
sounds physical.
It implies substance, doesn't it? It implies that the signal is thicker, it's stronger. He says these emotional thoughts carry greater vividness and have a greater tendency toward duplication.
So if I'm just casually thinking, I wonder if it's going to rain, That's a really weak signal. It's hard to duplicate.
It's a wisp. It's like a paper airplane in a hurricane.
But if I'm terrified of a storm, or if I'm furiously angry about the rain,
That anger, that terror, it gives the thought electrical weight. It pushes through the resistance. It makes the pattern so bold that even if the receiver has to reconstruct it, the blueprint is unmistakable.
it's like writing with a bold Sharpie instead of a really faint pencil.
Precisely. And Seth notes that all individuals are familiar with emotions. We all have intensity ranges for fear, love, anger. It's a kind of universal language.
So the receiver has an easier time matching that frequency.
A much easier time.
This connects to so many of those stories of crisis telepathy. You know, a mother knowing her child is in danger thousands of miles away, or twins feeling each other's pain.
It's always high emotion.
It is. You never hear stories about someone telepathically knowing their twin is, like, slightly bored.
Because boredom lacks electrical mass. It lacks the intensity to force that duplication process. It doesn't scream loud enough to wake up the receiver's construction crew.
I want to circle back to something Seth said about scientific proof. He seems to be implying that our current scientific methods for testing telepathy, the Zener cards, guessing shapes and numbers, they might be fundamentally flawed.
He is. He absolutely is. Science is looking for exact, pixel-perfect duplication. That fax machine model, they are going to fail.
Because it doesn't exist.
Because, as Seth says, identical realities do not exist.
So if I send a number 5 and you receive a number 6, a scientist chalks that up as a failure.
Right, a miss. But Seth might say, well, hold on. Look at the electrical intensity. Look at the emotional color. Maybe the 5 and the 6 were both constructed with the exact same feeling of hesitation. That is the telepathy.
So the content changed, but the essence, the mass, was transferred.
Exactly. It completely redefines what accuracy even means. Accuracy isn't cloning. Accuracy is resonance.
Resonance is the perfect word.
Yeah.
It's about vibrating in harmony, not about becoming the exact same object.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we've got this incredible picture of the universe. It's a juggling act. Energy is constantly changing. We're all sort of alone in our own heads, reconstructing signals from others, trying to build these little bridges of meaning. It's metaphysical. It's beautiful.
Mm.
It's also a little bit lonely.
And then reality comes knocking.
Literally.
Literally knocking.
Let's set the scene again. It's 10:23 p.m. The session has been going deep. Jane is in a trance. And she isn't just zoning out, she is deep under.
Right.
Seth is explaining the thoughts are changed by the receiver. And then suddenly,
Knock, knock, knock.
someone is knocking on the door of their apartment.
Now, for you or me, a knock at the door it's annoying, maybe. But we have to remember Jane is in a dissociated state. Her consciousness has stepped aside. Her physical body is channeling all this energy.
And the reaction is just visceral.
Mm.
The notes in the book say Jane was shocked out of her trance.
Disoriented, groping for her bearings. It was not a smooth exit.
Later, Jane describes it herself. She says it was like being doused with ice water.
It really highlights the physical toll of this work. We can get so lost in the intellectual side of the Seth material, treating it like pure philosophy. But for Jane Roberts, the human being, this was a physiological state she was in.
It's jarring just to read it. One minute you're contemplating the electrical mass of emotional thoughts, and the next minute some neighbor or delivery guy knocks on the door and just shatters the connection.
It's like a diver coming up way too fast. They get the bends.
Exactly.
Mm.
And Rob, her husband, he handles it really well. He signals for her to just sit quietly. He doesn't let her get up.
He waits for the knocking to stop. He's prioritizing her safety over, social politeness.
And impressively, she drifts back into trance. She resumes the session at 10:25 p.m., just 2 minutes later.
That is immense discipline.
But the session doesn't last much longer. Seth comes back. He finishes his thought about interpretation and then basically says, okay, we're done for tonight.
He says, with our new system of communication, interruptions are shocking to Ruburt. And Ruburt is his name for Jane.
And he suggests they end the evening.
It's a protective measure. Seth realizes that the environment just isn't safe for the depth of work they're doing.
And there's this aftermath note from Rob. He realizes this is a serious hazard.
Yes. They decide right then and there to change their entire setup. They decide they're going to move future sessions into their bedroom.
Because it has, 3 doors between it and the main hallway?
A soundproof barrier. They realize that as the material gets deeper, as Jane goes deeper, the physical world actually becomes more of a danger. They need isolation. They need a bunker.
It just adds this layer of, I don't know, stakes. It's not just fun and games. There's a real vulnerability to opening yourself up like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you open the door to the cosmic juggling act, you are less shielded from the simple physical thud of a knuckle on wood.
It's a potent reminder that this was a lived experience for them, with real, tangible risks.
So that's where we leave them on March 1st, 1965. Rob and Jane, moving furniture around, setting up a safe space in the back room, trying to protect this connection they've found.
And Seth, presumably, waiting for the next opportunity to explain how we all create our own reality.
So what does this all mean for us? For you, driving to work or folding laundry in 2026, we aren't mediums. We aren't trance channelers.
I think it changes how we listen. If we accept Seth's premise that I can never truly give you my thought and you can never truly receive it, then every single conversation is a miracle.
Because it works at all.
Because we keep trying. We are constantly projecting these blueprints out into the world, and we're constantly building bridges to each other. Even if they're imperfect, we're juggling together.
Kind of takes the pressure off, doesn't it? If someone misunderstands you, it's not necessarily a failure on your part.
Yeah.
It's just physics.
It is the nature of the electrical universe. And it also means we have to be better senders. If you want to be understood, you can't be lukewarm.
You need that electrical mass.
You need that electrical mass. You need to put some heart into it.
And maybe take Seth's career advice too. Pick one day to worry about your marketing.
Yeah.
Whatever that means for you. And for the rest of the week, just do the work.
Compartmentalize.
Yeah.
Create. Focus your energy. And, try not to knock on any doors if you think someone might be in a trance on the other side.
Solid life advice all around.
Indeed.
Now here's a provocative thought to leave you with. It's been kind of nagging at me since I read this session.
Go for it.
If Seth is right, and every time you receive a thought, you are actually creating a new one, are we ever really remembering anything? Or is memory just us sending a telepathic message to our future selves, which we then misinterpret and reconstruct every single time we access it?
That is a rabbit hole for another time. But if that's true, it means we are constantly rewriting our own pasts every time we think about them.
Something to mull over. This deep dive is based on the Seth material, specifically the Early Sessions Book 3, published by New Awareness Network.
And the wealth of information in these sessions is just staggering. We only scratched the surface of session 136. There are pages of notes on the specific atmospheric conditions, Rob's questions, more nuanced physics.
So if you want to get the full signal, or at least build your own version of it, we highly encourage you to study the Seth material books for yourself. You can find them and visit the bookstore at sethcenter.com/the early sessions.
Go to the source. Don't just take our reconstructed blueprint for it.
And just a reminder, this podcast is distributed free of charge on all major platforms for educational purposes. We aren't here to tell you what to believe.
Just to share what we found in the archives. Keep the energy moving.
Thanks for listening. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.